18 months ago, I got accepted into an Ivy League university with only $500 to my name. Flash forward, I left after my first semester and turned that $500 into over 2 million trading crypto on-chain. But it didn't magically happen overnight. It came from over 18 months of trial and error. Every mistake, every win, every sleepless night scanning all led to this one simple strategy that helped me go from a lost beginner to hitting trades like this 200K profit. And in this video, I'll be breaking down the exact framework of this strategy and how you can use it to hit the same trades that I do. Let's get into it. It's called the alpha filter. It's a 3-part system that filters out 99% of the noise and locks in on the 1% of coins that are genuinely worth touching. For me, filtering out that noise was the biggest issue I had starting off. I remember at the start with how much volume and how many coins there were in the market, I got really overwhelmed, and out of impatience, I bid this one coin. It was a dog sipping on a coffee in a burning house. The coin was called Fine on a Telegram channel I was in without an actual real idea of whether it was a good investment on my part. I was in class at the time and I just had to watch that portfolio number on my wallet fly straight to zero. And I had to hold myself back from just completely crashing out while my professor was yapping on about financial accounting. And that's when I realized if I didn't develop a real system to separate that noise, I would be stuck in this same exact cycle. And that's where the alpha filter begins. The first step of the alpha filter is simple. You need to evaluate the market before you enter anything. Remember, no coin is in a vacuum. You always need to take the environment into account. So you need context. And to find that out, you're going to ask yourself two things. Number one is on-chain volume flowing. Now it's a little obvious, but you need volume to actually get money out of these coins. So what are some ways you can analyze that? For example, you can see how many coins have actually migrated on Axiom in the past couple hours. Now, if you don't know what Axiom is, it's the main terminal I trade on, and it's the best trading bot in the space. It's the fastest, it's the most secure, and it's got every single tool and resource you need to trade efficiently. So to set this up, all you have to do is head to the Axiom link in the description down below. Make sure it says Fortune at the end. Hit the sign up button, make sure it says Fortune at the bottom, and through that code, you'll get a 10% discount off all transaction fees used on the platform. You can sign up with either your Gmail or your Phantom wallet. And once you're all signed up, your terminal should look like this. For me, the only filters that I have are a minimum $11,000 market cap, and you should be set. So back to step one, by looking at how many coins have migrated on Axiom, you're really analyzing how much buy volume there is in the market right now. The migrated section is going to be the third column right here. And to reach this third column, new coins need to hit a certain amount of market cap. If you're scrolling down the third column and all of these coins are either old or just dead, it means the market is inactive. So to measure inactivity, you're looking at two things. How frequently are coins popping up on that migrated column? And what market cap are those coins topping at? If in the past 6 hours, the highest coin that graduated only went to 300K, you're playing in a dead zone. People are going to be extremely scared to bid things. So this is a way you measure your risk. If the migrated section is booming, there's a lot of coins graduating, and these coins are all reaching high ceilings, that's going to be a green light to go more risk on. You can bid weaker coins. There's going to be more opportunities for high upside moves. But if that volume just isn't there, you need to preserve your capital. Remember, it's impossible to bend the market. You need to follow what it's saying. And this is how you're going to avoid a slow death by just little cut after little cut. Being aware of when to be risk on and risk off is going to keep you alive long enough for when you actually catch the 100x. But beyond just volume, we need to look at what the market actually likes, which means asking yourself, what is the leading narrative? What is the meta? And that's a way of asking where all the attention is right now. So for example, right now at the time of recording, the bonk ecosystem and EVM has a lot of mind share right now. And you can see this on Axiom. If you look at all the coins that have migrated recently, they're all from bonk, which you can tell by the little logo at the corner over here. Even just scrolling down, there's very few coins that are launched from pump fund. So once again, you need to follow that context. Your main focus should be on bonk coins. And if attention rotates back into tech coins, from let's say a tech coin like Launchcoin hitting 300 million market cap and taking over all that mind share, your main focus should be to look for tech coins in that scenario. So the first step is really just gauging how hard you should be going with your buys and where your buys should be allocated towards. And now that we know where our eyes should be focused towards, it's time to find out whether or not the coin that you're looking at is actually valuable or not. And that's going to be step two, which is evaluating the narrative. And this is where most traders fumble. What I've noticed is that people don't actually know what they're buying, nor are they aware of what actually creates value in this market. And it's why so many people just think of crypto as gambling, when in reality, it's a lack of knowledge. So what should you keep in mind mind for this step. Crypto is an attention market. Attention is value here. Remember, every coin on crypto really has no inherent value. What actually creates that value is the influence that these coins can have. So to measure that attention, that value, you're going to be asking yourself 4 questions. Number 1, how many people will see this narrative? And this question looks into how big of an audience is your coin actually appealing to, and how easily is that narrative conveyed. And it's why those select coins on tech, memes, culture, news really do so well, because they have evergreen narratives that speak to massive audiences, and they spread so easily. And if a coin doesn't capture a large audience, it doesn't have that hook, it's not going to do well. Who is it going to resonate with? So you always need to be aware of the demographic that the coin is appealing to. But more importantly than the size of the audience is question 2, how will people react when they see that coin? Remember, you want either a unique narrative that appeals to a lot of people, that spreads easily and is easily understood, or a narrative that makes people sound smart when talking about it. And that really means how well is it going to resonate with people on crypto Twitter. I'll give you an example. So this coin here is called Sharplink Gaming, and we called this in my group at 161k market cap. How did we know it would go to multi-millions? So let me just explain a little bit of background about this coin. So Sharplink Gaming is an actual stock with a market cap of currently 2.74 billion. And they're one of the first NASDAQ listed companies to be an Ethereum treasury. How did we know at 161k at the very bottom that this is a narrative that resonates well with crypto Twitter? And as I stated, we can look for a proven historical example. And for that, I'm going to show you this one coin. GME is another coin on an actual stock. I'm sure you've heard of it, GME, with the coin all-time high being over 200 million when Roaring Kitty decided to come back from the dead. Now, a meme coin on an actual stock hitting over a $200 million market cap honestly seems absurd. But through this example, we can see right here, crypto cultures love stocks as meme coins. And when a quote-unquote meme stock gets on the headlines like GME did, it tends to perform extremely well. So here we have SBET, a coin we saw at 161k, now taking the center of attention by getting on the headlines for its Ethereum treasury. And that also knocks out part 1 of evaluating the narrative. How many people are going to see this? For SBET, it was on the headlines of TradFi. So you have a coin that's appealing to both TradFi and crypto native audiences, which the category it's a part of has performed extremely well in the past. We were able to predict that it would go to multi-millions. And what happened? It went to an all-time high of over 14 million. So this is what I mean by figuring out how people will react. What will people think of when they look at this coin? For SBET, it was that stock coins getting a lot of attention right now perform extremely well as meme coins. And when you know how people will react, you need to move on to part 3, which is what is the ceiling of attention for that reaction? And to figure this out, we need to look for a over or undervalued indicator. Now in crypto, you can't make blanket statements. The factors that could create a ceiling for one coin is never going to apply for another. Every single coin is going to be a case-by-case scenario, and it's really difficult to find something that's going to encompass the ceiling for everything. But the best way we can get close to that is finding a historical pattern and looking at the root of the narrative. Little overwhelming at first, but let me clear that up by using SBET as the example again. So what is the root of the narrative for SBET? To put it simply, it's just a meme coin of a stock that's making headlines in crypto. And therefore, this coin is only getting attention because the actual stock, Sharplink Gaming, is getting attention as well. So as a result, this coin, SBET, follows the chart of the actual Sharplink Gaming coin. And when this chart of SBET, the actual stock, is no longer going up and consolidating for a little while, and SBET, the coin, is still going up, you know that the coin of SBET is overvalued because it's not supposed to be doing that. That's an error in the market. So when something like that happens and two things don't line up, a ceiling is about to form. And we can apply that to several different coins. Here, for example, Pochita is an animal coin I made about $9,000. And the narrative of Pochita is that Pochita, this dog right here, is the sibling of Bonk, which currently is the dog of the coin with the most mindshare right now. Easy to understand narrative. We know this coin is going to get attention. But how can we figure out where this tops off? To do that, we're going to be looking at 2 things. Number 1 is comparing it to other low cap betas or co-plays in the Bonk ecosystem and how they've performed. Here, I just pulled up the part of Cheems. Cheems Bolts is the actual name of the dog of Bonk. And as we can see at the start of Bonk's run up, it went to almost 2 million market market cap, then just completely died. And now on Bonk's second run up, where Bonk now has the most mind share it's ever had, it bounced to a couple 100K and now it's ranging in between here. So looking at how coins with a real relation to Bonk and are also lower market cap have been performing, we can see that while they've bounced off the bottom, so while this narrative is really easy to understand, people just don't seem to resonate with it that well. So we can start averaging out at a couple 100K market cap. So we're always looking at the root of the narrative and finding something we can compare it to. And while of course it's never going to always apply to a T, it helps us give some kind of a range to start averaging out. And with that ceiling in mind, we also need to figure out how long will this attention last, because some coins are just really designed to last longer. Now, the best way we can identify the short-lived ones is by looking at how many bull catalysts that the coin has. And what I mean by bull catalysts are events that will push the coin's price further. And a perfect example of a category of coins with a small amount of bull catalysts are news coins. Let's say you're sitting on Axiom and you see a tweet from Elon about a meme and it spawns a coin. You get in early and it goes to a couple 100K market cap instantly. After all, it's a meme, so it resonates well with crypto Twitter and it's from someone with influence, Elon. So a lot of people are going to see it. And coins that Elon have supported have gone anywhere from a couple million to multi-billions. But if it's just a tweet about a simple meme, what bull catalysts does that really have? Or a tweet from Trump or Elon about a slogan or an event. Sure, it's memeable, it's going to get a lot of attention at first, but what then? What could possibly happen to that coin that's going to push it further? And the answer is realistically nothing. So these news/tweet coins are usually going to have a pretty high ceiling, but they're not going to last long because they don't have bull catalysts compared to something like Launchcoin over here. Now, obviously the chart isn't doing too beautifully right now, but you can see even after that huge run of the 360 mil, chart is still pretty strong. And it's been alive for months now. Why? Because on a huge tech coin like this, you have a lot of bull catalysts. The developer behind this, which is Ben Pasternak, this guy over here, is a very reputable developer with a lot of influence. He can post updates about this coin, new functionalities, a much wider range of people are likely to support something like this. There's a lot of events that could happen that people will speculate on that will make this coin go up and keep the attention alive. And figuring out how many and what those events are is what's going to let you know how long that attention is going to last. Now, of course, you don't want to equate this to whether a coin is good or bad. Like I said, if you're early on something like Elon posting about a meme, you can still make a significant amount of money on those. I've made hundreds of thousands on coins with short-lived attention spans but high ceilings. This is just a way to gauge longevity and the duration of time that you should be in that position for. Now, we know when to be aggressive, we know which narratives are actually going to win, and we filtered out 99% of the noise. But how do you actually identify this potential before the crowd catches on? And that's what we're going to cover on part 3, and that is identifying the inefficiency. And this is the art of actually executing the alpha filter. And when it all comes down to it, getting rich off crypto is really just being able to identify patterns. Once you get enough experience, it sounds a little generic, but your intuition should be sharp enough to identify plays. To actually execute the alpha filter, we need to combine steps number 1 and 2, and that's going to be identifying the narrative that is lagging in the ecosystem right now. We want to look for undervalued coins with asymmetrical upside. Now, how do we actually do this? It means we need to research everything. The second anything catches your eye on Twitter, new pairs, in the communities you're in, do your research, figure out what the narrative is in every single scenario. And what you'll notice is that history never repeats itself, but it often rhymes. A coin that's already played out is not going to get the same attention that it did on the second time, but you can look for similar frameworks. For example, on SBET, we found the news on Sharplane Gaming, identified the coin, and the framework that we used in figuring out that this was undervalued is that stock coins do really well. And the attention and the stats that SBET had, remember, they were picking up hundreds of millions of dollars in Ethereum. SBET sitting at 176K just wasn't right. And when you're able to pick up on patterns like that is when your intuition has gone sharpened. So what's the best way to do this? As I said, research everything. And also, you want to be journaling and taking note of important events. You need to train your pattern recognition. If I didn't know about previous stock coins doing well in the past, I would not have known that SBET would have reached the numbers that it did. Every significant trade that you take, every meta, every important narrative that ends up on the headlines, take note of that. Because even if you didn't catch that opportunity, a similar one is going to spawn in the future. And if you don't have that knowledge prepared, you're going to miss it again. And the alpha filter works because it's built around these 3 crypto truths. And these 3 pillars are what lets the alpha filter work. By filtering coins through market context, narrative quality, and previous data, you're creating room for asymmetric setups. And by implementing all the 3 steps on every single trade, it's going to hone your ability to gather information. You're always going to be aware of what's happening in the market, and you're always improving from past mistakes. And this is how you go from watching people post 100x screenshots to being the one posting them. But with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you've made it this far, I do want to end off by announcing that I've officially opened spots for the Fortune Inner Circle, which is my new private one-on-one mentorship group, which is the most hands-on experience you'll get, where I teach you in depth on exactly the way I trade, where you'll also get direct guidance from not only myself, but other 7-figure mentors inside Fortune. We've already had people like Enabler who made 20K off one trade, and people like Bobby and Justin who have both made 7K off our recent call. So if you want to be a part of the most hungry circle in crypto, make sure to apply in the description down below. Thanks for watching and peace.